good. That's actually why I wanted to just come together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for so just to go ahead and get started, and we might have some other family members join. Of course, this is the Understanding a Man podcast, and of course, we tend to come from a male perspective on certain items, and so I've been blessed ongoing to continue to have some great guests on. And yeah, y'all actually have to check out the last episode of with Mr. Marvin Cotton. Y'all gonna see him in a second.
Nice.
But I remember in the last one, I told y'all that I had like me and Marvin had only known each other like a week, right? So now the gentleman also on the phone, so we've only known each other like 2 weeks, right?
Wow.
But I would definitely say we were all had a chance to meet at the King's Retreat that was in Hiawassee, way up in the oh my goodness mountains of Georgia. Beautiful scenery, and just and it is the brainchild of Miss Qiana Howell. She actually wasn't able to join us. She's actually just grinding. She's had a vending opportunity, so that's where she's at right now. So she says she might hop on if she can. But the reason why that we're on the phone right now is really a brainchild that was her. And of course, I said last week I came to speak and ended up getting spoken to. And part of that reason why are some of the gentlemen that I have on the phone, on the hook that you see here right now. So whether you're watching this on YouTube, of course, thank you for continuing to subscribe and watch. If you're watching this on Anchor or any other podcast platforms, feel free to share this with some other men as we just have a discussion just a little bit about men just coming together and just so I want them to kind of discuss some of the things. So I don't want to steal the joy. but if gentlemen, they don't know who you is, all right? They don't know who you are and some of the great things that some of you guys are doing, or all of you are doing. So if you want to take a moment, I just want you to just kind of give the elevator version of yourself. What do you do in these activist streets, or just from your 9 to 5, your purpose of how God has you walking? If you could just let everybody know who you are, and then actually, how did you know Qiana as well? So start with you, Art. You in the upper left there.
So my name is Art Bright. I'm also a filmmaker and film producer. Do several projects. Shoot most podcast shows.
All right, if you can speak up just a tad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
You put on the Barry White. Nah, we're not.
Now you don't put me in that category. Yeah. No Barry White, okay. So Art Bright, filmmaker, film producer, working on a host of projects. Just to narrow it down. Cooking show that's going to Netflix. Some podcast shows that my company shoots for CBS and Facebook, and then of course dad, husband of a very long time. I met Qiana through counseling, marriage counseling, and so she has been a significant part of not only helping in that regard, but in personal development.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest piece of what she offers is not just the coaching for couples, but the one-on-one inside of the coaching. So
absolutely. Cool beans. Who Marvin? Let them know who you are, Marvin.
Well, my name is Marvin Cotton Jr., and I've been blessed to be on the show. This is my second appearance here. Hopefully, it's the second of many more to come. I'm a social justice advocate and activist and motivational speaker. I met Qiana on Facebook because I post a lot of inspirational stuff on Facebook. I post a lot of positive information, and she reached out to me, and I checked out what she does, and I said, listen, we have to work together one day. I don't know in what capacity. I see what you're doing. I love what you're doing. She was able to see what I do. A little bit of my backstory. I spent 19 years, 7 months and 12 days in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I was exonerated a little over a year ago. When I got out, I seen the conditions that the community was in, so I immediately got active in trying to make the community better. Those were my plans anyway, but really seeing it really propelled me in that direction even faster. So I got heavily involved in the community. I go straight to the people that's supposed to be in charge, the movers and shakers. I partner with a lot of people getting a lot of things done in the community. Fortunately, the platform that I have, I've been able to make a lot of noise, and usually when I speak, people listen. And I'm very blessed to be in that position. And, being in that position has allowed me to meet men that you see right here, that's on this podcast today, which I look forward to working with as well. The chemistry at the retreat was so great that I think it's impossible for us not to build relationships and do things not only in business, but in each other's lives as well.
Yes, sir. Hey, I was about to say, see, you about to jump on in. See, Marvin, I was going to I just want them to know who you are, because I was about to dive into just how the whole retreat was. So I'm going to come back to each one of you with that, or we could just have a discussion on that. But Gabe, what up?
Yeah.
Minister Gabe. Frozen. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's in traffic.
You got that on that boost mobile. Careful.
Don't do me like
shout out to Boost Mobile though. Shout out to Boost Mobile.
Brother, back up off of us, brother. Back up off of us.
Hey, Boost Mobile, they might want to contribute. You feel it? So
right. That's right. My bad. Gabe, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
You're dragging a little bit, just a little bit.
I should be hitting a better spot here shortly.
Okay.
I'm driving or in a vehicle, so hopefully I'm back on. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, you're doing
still
good
in the
now.
mountains? You still in the mountains, Gabe?
Right.
You never left.
Hey, I got Verizon. I had service in the mountains, just so y'all know.
Hey, but Gabe, you got a quick elevator.
Let me try to get it in while let me try to get it in while I still got a little bit of service. So I'm Gabe Simmons, husband of about over 13 years, father of 3 beautiful girls, Faith, Hope, and Grace. I am a minister of the gospel. My whole purpose in life is to share God's word with everybody that I come in contact with. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a logistics and trucking company where we just deliver different freight across the nation, and that's the elevator pitch. I met Qiana, my wife, actually, because my wife is a part of a sisterhood that Qiana is a part of, and they kind of linked us up. So that's how I met Qiana.
So Gabe, let me stay right there real quickly with you, because you were one of the people that came as a guest, right? And so I believe you said your wife pretty much did she sign you up, or you signed up for the event, or what?
She signed me up.
Okay, so normally men are not receptive to, or we have not been as receptive as we should be for personal development, men's retreat. I mean, you go into an event, a conference, it's all men. What were your thoughts? Were you offended by it? Were you like, oh, this is something that's good? How did that communication go between you and your wife when you found out this was your assignment for that weekend?
That she was putting you out
for a minute.
Right.
That's what
how did she tell us how she kicked you out the house? Tell us how she kicked you out. All right.
That was it. Well, my initial thought, only because I had another engagement, my initial thought was hesitancy. But as far as the idea of men's retreat, because our church actually does men's retreats, it's a little different form, but we do men's retreats annually. So I was actually looking forward to it. Men getting away, just bonding, connecting, relaxing. Again, it's retreating, so you're getting away from the day-to-day mundane assignments. So I was actually looking forward to it. I was just initially hesitant because I had a previous engagement, but we worked around it, and I'm glad I went.
So would you say that this is something that you normally do every couple of months or something, or this is something like you're used to going to retreats? This is something that you do.
Something I do annually.
Okay, annually. Okay, annually you go. Okay. So Art, what about you, man? Like, is this something, do you go to, retreats often, or, is this something that you signed up for? The wifey said, get out, like Gabe's wife did him, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was it for you?
It was more like Qiana said, get out. But I mean, so no, I don't frequent retreats that much, and I think because for me it's more on a time thing because of my company doing well. But the other part is at times it could be chemistry, right? So when you go, I think the one thing that was so organic was the chemistry and the camaraderie as men that we had, which really made it very possible. Plus my being there also was to cover it and film it for Qiana, because this was the very first one. So that was, my being a part of it, not mostly, but her and I, she had asked me to do that, and that was something that I really pushing to be there was me really having to shift schedule.
Okay, so let me stay right there with you, because for the man that is busy out there, right? Like yourself, you rocking and rolling. So you're saying it's not something that you do often, right? And I would say that I want to rest here with you, because with the men that are out here shaking and moving, and it was almost like, was it a moment where you were walking in purpose of doing the photography and then got blessed while you was there? Is it something like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I came to work and got worked. I said that off, you know what I'm saying? That's what happened with me. So what are you and I on the same page with that right there?
Yes, 100, bro. And I think that was while I'm behind the camera and I'm trying to set the room up and I'm trying to make things be what they need to be for the capture of what we're trying to get aesthetically, and sound and all of that. I'm seeing and I'm hearing people be transparent in a way that is almost like a tap on the shoulder, like, yo, did you actually hear him say the exact same thing that you just heard him say that you've been saying?
Right.
And same thing. So it caused me to literally lock in and hear. And I think it really started, to be honest with you, it started with Marvin. Marvin spoke so eloquently about his situation.
He did set it up.
It kicked off the whole thing.
Hey, Art, real quick. From the beginning, it was like this. Oh, that's what we doing today? Okay. It was like, that's how we're starting this off.
Marvin's transparency without that being something we needed to tell him to do.
Yep.
Was so refreshing.
Yep.
Because it took let me say it this way, as a guy's guy, right? When you're around other guys that you can tell if they fronting or they're operating in fear because of what they think another guy is gonna say. It's real refreshing when you can be in a room with guys who are good with who they are, who talk about exactly what is either going on with them or needs to happen. That's the only way us as guys, the way we are, can really process. So it was affirming to me in that moment to say, okay, this is actually pretty good. Like people, you know what I mean? Like people, like that was water for me, because the thing is, I tend to be the guy in the room encouraging the other guys. So for me, I needed to be poured into the way I was being poured into, and literally unashamed at that idea was the way that I took it. Yeah, I'm on behind the camera and I'm doing what I'm doing, but as much as I go and as much as I'm pulled on, to have him say the stuff that he was saying from a place of from a place of being in the middle of it, but speaking from peace in the middle of chaos.
Right.
That to me,
that
is a life right there that told me to put everything to the side and pay close attention to what I was hearing. And I needed that. Yeah.
Art, what I really enjoyed about your perspective is it's interesting, and I don't know if you ever even looked at it this way, but you became one with your camera, because when you became more a part of the program, you came from a perspective of what you know people wants to hear and see on the other side of the camera.
Right.
So you started asking questions and engaging in conversation that viewers would have wanted to say or ask if they were in the room.
Right. That's real. That's real.
You know, so you came from behind the camera, joined us and became a part of the retreat, but from a way that an audience that wasn't there with us would want to see and experience if they were there with us as well.
And I need you to understand that the questions that I asked were me speaking primarily from my perspective and what I needed somebody to say. And I'm glad you said it that way, because for me, in that moment, I got completely lost over the idea of what I was supposed to be doing with the camera. And that to me was the organic aspect of it for me.
That man forgot his
Locking in
job.
and being like, yo, so Marvin, check this out. Like, that's the thing. And
yo, wait, Marvin, you made that man forget his whole job. He was like, wait, why am I here?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? It was
so deep. That's deep. I don't know about that.
Let me find out you didn't get nothing but floor shots. Let me find out you didn't get nothing but floor shots.
Right.
Man, and so, audio.
Let me say this, you know, from the heart. I say this real quick. For me, when you desire to be in a room like this, as a guy, you want to get everything out of it, because when you go back, those aren't the kind of people that you deal with.
Let me stop. Hold on. Let me stop right there, because that was actually like where I was about to take this. But I want to kind of expand on that. But I see we got Mr. Brooks joined us, so we got to highlight him real quick.
Up, man?
But even though for those that are listening,
what's up, brother?
We're having a little fun with it, but at the same time, I want to set the stage with something that Art just said, and you'll continue to hear this underlying tone. You know, some of us came to work and got work. Some of us came to, you know, just sit there and be blessed and hear or whatever. But it's the fact that us being in that setting as men, I think that it was even from the Gabes that might do this very often to the Arts that might not do it that often, right? At the end of the day, this is something that we need to do. Men coming together and being able to have a safe place. I mean, literally, like, I almost want to ask every man, just go to Evite and see what you can find in your local area, just so that you can sit and talk to somebody, because the end of what Art was about to say, and any of you gentlemen, you can jump in on this. We had to get it out for a moment, because what we're about to go back to is real, right? And we won't be able to get it out. We won't be able to express ourselves. I mean, we're taught more to not express ourselves. So coming to that space and releasing it did so much. And so, you know, Mr. Brooks, I want to throw this over to you real quick, because you came as a guest as well. And I don't know whether you out like Gabe, or whether you know what I'm saying, whether you signed up for it or whatever. So talk to us about, you know, you just even finding out about it and you coming and what, you know, your experience. Now you got to do that. That's like the elevator version, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So
got you. I'm gonna put it in a whole nutshell. So my
man, you got some birds or something? Like, is it me?
Yo, I got some birds in the background, bro. Like,
dude,
some birds. And
what,
these birds
do you live next to on the forest? Like, what? Yo, is it just me?
I'm gonna get rid of them for a second.
That joker sound like you got like a parakeet in your left ear.
Bro, they're right here. They literally right here.
Oh, hold up, brother. Don't get rid of the birds.
Yeah, not rid of the birds.
Peter shut this podcast down.
They gonna go to
another Marvin's on there. So you gotta watch out.
We about to have Peter be on our back. We about to have Peter on our back in this situation. I mean, he over there with the whole Jungle Cruise. Like,
That's
for
word.
real.
I listen, I wasn't gonna sit here and let that just go. I'm like, does anybody else hear what I'm listening to?
Yo, my bad, fellas. Yo, I literally listen. I literally came in and normally they don't be next to me.
Late with the birds.
Yo, my bad, fellas. My bad. This weekend we kind of babysitting for some friends, so it was like it literally threw me off, right? But back to the retreat. My wife actually know the person, Cheryl, that was doing it, and she was like, she hit me with the. Oh, sorry, not Cheryl. I'm sorry, Cheryl is Gabe's wife. My bad, Qiana. I'm sorry. Gabe, my bad, brother. Yeah. So, what happened was my wife. She pretty much said, "Listen, I think you should go get away."
Out the house.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Right. Right.
I don't know, right? So she kept asking me over and over. She kept throwing it to me. Every time she can, she kept throwing it to me.
Wow.
And then I started biting on the idea. I said, okay, all right, it's a men's retreat. All right. Remember, I told you guys when I came up there, I didn't know if it was going to be Christians or, just regular. Like, my thing was more of like, I think when I was sitting in the car with Gabe, I was like, wow, is this a Christian's retreat or is this a regular retreat? Like, well, what are we going up here for? And when we ended up pretty much, when she convinced me to go, it wasn't really convincing. It was just more of like God talking to me. God talked to me. God told me pretty much, listen. And he pretty much talked to other people too for me. Listen, this is where you need to go. This is where you need to release everything, everything that is pretty much a burden for me. This is where I need to go and let it out. And it was, I'm not going to lie, connecting with all you men was great, and it didn't feel, how some conferences you go and you just like, okay, the guest speakers, they just the guest speakers, we can't talk to them, right?
Right.
It wasn't like that. It was like such of a togetherness. I remember when we sat down and ate the first dinner, man, we just literally just started talking and clicking.
Right. Hey, let me tell y'all a funny story on that though, real quick. So, I had brought a suit, right? Because I'm like, I didn't know how I'm thinking I'm speaking for like an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever, right? So after that first night, I was like, wait a minute. We men. And, men, we don't dress up for other men. We don't do it, right? And I remember saying to myself, I was just like, if I was a woman, I probably would be like, even though we clicked at dinner, I probably be like, bam, bam, boom, throw the new wig on the next day, right? Lashes and probably everything, right? You know what I'm saying? But I was just like, I'm about to put these sweats on. You know what I'm saying? And we about to talk like just talk. You know what I'm saying? I didn't put the sweats on, but I thought about it because I was like, yo, like it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things I will blend my conversation with yours there, Cleavlon, by saying like that's how I felt after that first night, the dinner. I was just like, oh, we just the homies just talking and we about to heal real quick. What's going on? All right.
Yeah, man. Listen, it was a lot of healing, bro. It wasn't, and I think everybody. What it looked like for me is that everybody caught some type of healing for something, and it literally made. If anybody was supposed to watch us on that table, they'll be like, "Wow, these are scholars that's talking right there." It was literally that.
Hey, speaking of which, hey, Art. So I don't know if you're doing the production of the video, but we waiting on that for that one reason. And I'm gonna come to Marvin. So we on you, dog. Like we, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, we gonna be good. Hey, we gonna be good because the thing is, I just let it run. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna do much of any setup or anything. I'm gonna let it play real raw and organic, so that people can just kind of get a feeling of what it was.
Nah, you good, but I want to highlight something really quickly to your wife, Mr. Brooks, because for those ladies that are listening, I want to let you know that some of us knew that we needed what we needed that weekend, but some of us did not. And a lot of times your men, even that release, the Art was just kind of talking about whatever. We don't even know that we don't know that we need this, right? So I could sit here and be like, oh, I've been reading books for the past 10 years, so I know myself. Let me tell you something. I still struggle with understopping and thinking to myself, because even at that retreat, I was like, when was the last time that I went to a personal development retreat? And I'm sitting there checking myself. Now, obviously COVID kind of shut it down a little bit, but it made me say, I got to stay up and just looking what's locally going on, because that's something that's needed. Now, I can't wait for the 2nd annual and 3rd annual, whatever case may be, but that's great, Brooks, that your wife did that. And so, ladies, those of you who are listening, your husbands or even your boyfriends, your significant others, even your brothers, your uncles, your fathers, whatever, they all need this type of healing. We are coming into a space right now, and I'm going to let Marvin kind of speak on it as well, because I know he can kind of view it from, I guess, behind bars, and then even on this side as well, to whereas there's a healing that men are starting to walk more into, of knowing that, hey, I need healing. And we weren't talking like this for forever because it was weak. It was, girly. It was feminine. And we don't realize that it's masculine to not know sometimes and then go figure it out. It's not masculine to not know and then just walk around front like you do know, because that doesn't work, right? And so, I'm sorry, Marvin, I want to throw it over to you, because you were also just highly impactful. You heard how Art said how you just set this thing off. So I just want you to reintroduce yourself, and then just also what did you gain? What, just your elevated version, what did you gain from the conference as well?
One of the I came in to pour some of myself into other men. But like you said, I came to work, and I actually got worked on as well. And one of the things that impacted me first, and probably even more significantly, was how we all came and the trust seemed to be there immediately. It was trust. It was trust and vulnerability there immediately. Right. And anytime you have trust and vulnerability, it allows enough openness so that work can actually be done. You can't even get into anybody without that trust and that openness. That's so key. I came in expecting to have to build rapport, build trust, but I didn't expect a group of men all coming looking for something so bad that the trust was just automatically there. And maybe that had a lot to do with Qiana. Our different relationships with her, to where everybody came in trusting her. Right. Trusting the process that she had put together that allowed us to come in the way that we did. Because within 24 hours, it seemed like you were dealing with a bunch of men that had known each other for months, if not years. Right. That's real. The conversation that we had, during our first kickoff was beautiful. But the conversation we had over dinner was 10 times that, if you ask me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It was so beautiful that immediately we was like, we should have had cameras rolling.
Yeah, we did say that, y'all. If the cameras were rolling, you could take that tape and probably save a large percentage of the Black community. I'm just gonna go on and say it. We were organically talking. I think that's everybody saw in the other person, wait a minute, me plus you plus you plus you, we can go help some people. Wait a minute. It was nobody took the thing on and slapped it on the table. We was like, yo, I'm over here humble. What you got? Okay, you over there humble too? Okay, you over there humble too? All right, well, hey, let's.
Yeah, and I've said at a lot of tables with a lot of different men. I've said at a lot of tables. I've never sat at a table like that before. Right. Just with that type of dynamic, that type of energy. I know a lot of people on a lot of different levels. Even in prison, you may be sitting across, from people that have read. I've personally read 2,000 books, but I know people that didn't outread me. To where, they can debate and teach you about almost anything. Brilliance behind bars. Right. And I've sat at tables with men where, mind sharpen mind like steel sharpen steel. Right. But the chemistry that we had at that table, I don't think that it can be duplicated. Right.
Right. The piece that you said that jumps out of me, and fellas, anybody can jump in on here on this. I'm just going to start with this portion. I'm looking at step 1 for men is what you said there, Marvin, of trust and vulnerability. That right there is everything, because whether you even can go to a conference or whether you can receive a book that somebody recommended to you, or whether you can watch a YouTube or something online that somebody recommends for you, that's step one. You know, trusting the process of, okay, you know what, this is something that I need, and then being willing to be vulnerable. That's how you can receive. You know, somebody told me a long time ago, if you have your hand closed, you cannot give, nor can you receive. But if you open your hand, you can give and you can receive. And so that's how your mind has that trust and vulnerability is that open hand. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in there.
No, I mean, you know, that's top of mind for me, because for men, and we hear this all the time, trust and vulnerability causes you to become transparent. Which now,
because you say what, you got to speak up just a little bit.
To become transparent. Transparent. And in that transparency, now it allows you to learn and grow without offense. Because it is already enough work to get men in the room, and that many men to be on one accord and agree with the idea that we need to fix some things that are broken, right? Well, that first step, just going up to say I'm gonna go, that's a huge step. Like that
huge.
That's a huge step.
Agree.
To just admit that you need to be there.
Right.
Knowing you could easily be somewhere else, spending money, doing whatever you need to do, in some place way outside of nowhere, around some folks who probably don't like you anyway.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's the thing that I put at that. So for me, I kind of saw this as something that, hey man, this meant a whole lot to me, because I saw brothers pressing forward and pressing in to be somewhere and doing something and trying to get something that, quite frankly, people don't really wait around to do. They'll just go off and do something else, exchange their life out for something else entirely, read a couple of little things, or try to make some minor adjustments along the way. But this kind of work meant you were really true to knowing you really needed to get some help and or spoken into. And that's the unashamed part for me, is being able to be around men who I can say, okay, I trust what's in him enough because he's transparent to say something to me. And I know it's not coming from a place of them trying to damage you, or them trying to, you know, maybe lord over you if that's an issue for somebody else, or, you know, or it's very affirming. Being broken is an issue. It's the affirming part where you're not being affirmed inside of that decision of saying, I know I'm broken. Now, when I'm affirmed that it's all right to be broken, that's now a whole nother level of me now being able to deal with some issues within the right people.
So Gabe, let me ask you, Gabe, when he talks about when Art was just saying about the transparency piece on there, I mean, what were your thoughts of that feeling for the weekend? And even if you want to give, I guess, as coming as a guest, right? What was one or two takeaways that you had from the weekend?
So, all right. So before I give you the takeaway, I just wanted to kind of echo what Art was saying.
Right.